Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Yeshichanzo. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 14th of October. India now gives befitting reply. Interior Minister warns Pakistan refers to surgical strike. Businesses in Pakistan suffering due to economic crisis, unjust tax policies, say traders. And Nepal's Taleju Bhawani Temple opens for devotees after 2 years. And now for all the details. India's Interior Minister Amit Shah on Thursday said that India now gives a befitting reply to perpetrators of cross-border violence as he recalled the 2016 surgical strikes. His remarks came in the backdrop of resurgence in terror activities and recent civilian killings in Jammu and Kashmir territory, which security agencies have blamed on Pakistan-based Laskhar-e-Taiba terror outfit.
India's Interior Minister Amit Shah on Thursday said that India now gives a befitting reply to perpetrators of cross-border violence as he recalled the surgical strikes of 2016 when the armed forces struck terror hotbeds deep inside Pakistani territory. Speaking at an event in western Goa, in an apparent reference to Pakistan, Shah said, "There was a time when only talks used to happen, but now India reciprocates." The remarks came in the wake of recent encounter between security forces and terrorists during counter-terrorism operations along the border in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch, in which 5 Indian Army soldiers were killed.
मोदी जी और पर्रिकर जी के नेतृत्व में पहली बार भारत में अपनी सीमाओं की सुरक्षा, अपनी सीमाओं का सम्मान, अपने सार्वभौमत्व का गौरव प्रस्तावित करने का काम किया और मैं मानता हूं एक युगांतकारी शुरुआत की है उन्होंने। एक युग था जब बातों से बात होती थी और दूसरा युग आया कि जैसा सामने से सवाल आएगा ऐसा ही जवाब दिया जाएगा.
This also comes in the backdrop of a series of civilian killings in Jammu and Kashmir. Security agencies have said that Pakistan-based Laskhar-e-Taiba terror outfit is responsible for the attacks and has been carrying them out through its shadow outfit called the Resistance Front.
India and China on Wednesday exchanged sharp statements on Vice President Venkaiah Naidu's visit to northeastern Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh that Beijing claims to be part of South Tibet. New Delhi said it rejected the Chinese statement, firmly opposing the visit. This came amid the latest reports of a face-off in Arunachal and days after talks between the two sides to resolve a protracted standoff on a stretch of disputed Himalayan border broke down, with both sides blaming each other for the failure to make progress.
India has rejected China's opposition to Vice President Venkaiah Naidu's recent visit to northeastern state of Arunachal Pradesh. India's foreign ministry in a statement said that objecting to the visit of Indian leaders to an Indian state did not stand to reason and understanding of Indian people. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said, "We reject such comments. Arunachal Pradesh is an integral and inalienable part of India. Indian leaders routinely travel to the state as they do to any other state of India." Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian in a press briefing on Wednesday objected to Vice President's Arunachal Pradesh visit, saying China has never recognized the state. Naidu visited Arunachal Pradesh on October 9 and addressed a special session of the State Assembly. Beijing's remark come days after talks between Indian and Chinese army commanders to disengage troops from key friction areas along their border ended in a stalemate. Meanwhile, in a major milestone in providing all-weather connectivity to Tawang district close to border with China, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh virtually conducted the final breakthrough blast of the Sela Tunnel in Arunachal Pradesh, which marks the completion of the excavation process.
यह टनल हमारी नेशनल सिक्योरिटी को मजबूत करने के साथ-साथ यहाँ के नागरिकों की परिवहन सुविधा में बड़ा बदलाव लाकर यहाँ की सामाजिक आर्थिक स्थिति को मजबूत करने का भी काम करेगा.
The Sela tunnel would cut down the travel time between the Army's 4 Corps headquarters at Tejpur in Assam state and Tawang by at least an hour. The construction work of the tunnel is expected to be over by June 2022.
In news from Pakistan, crisis over the appointment of the new chief of Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence has continued amid reported differences between Prime Minister Imran Khan and Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa. Pakistan's Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry on Thursday said the process will be completed soon and it is inappropriate to create controversy out of it.
Crisis over the appointment of the new Director General of Inter-Services Intelligence or ISI in Pakistan has continued amid reported differences between Prime Minister Imran Khan and Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa. Pakistan's Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry on Thursday said the process of appointing spy chief will be completed soon and it is inappropriate to create controversy out of it. He had earlier denied any rift between civilian government and the military. The Pakistan Army last week announced that Lieutenant General Nadeem Ahmed Anjum was appointed as new ISI chief in place of Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid. However, a notification of the appointment was not issued by the Prime Minister's office, giving credence to speculations about differences over the key appointment. Early on Wednesday, opposition PMLN party Vice President Maryam Nawaz also slammed Prime Minister Imran Khan over the delay and criticized him over his insistence to retain Faiz Hamid as ISI chief, whom she alleged had been involved in political engineering. The law in Pakistan states that the appointment of the ISI chief falls under the Prime Minister's decision in consultation with the army chief.
Modern news from Pakistan. Traders and businessmen in Pakistan's financial capital Karachi have expressed they are staring at an uncertain future amid the economic crisis in the country and have rejected recent taxation measures which they say have added to their woes. President of a traders association said there was dire need for financial assistance and reforms to facilitate small businesses.
Traders and businessmen in Pakistan's financial capital, Karachi, have expressed they are staring at an uncertain future amid rising inflation and unjust taxation policies of the government, which have added to their woes. Sharjeel Goplani, president of a Karachi-based Traders Association, said that businesses are already struggling to come out of the fallout of COVID-19 pandemic, but they are now being pressurized with point-of-sale integration system which aims to broaden the tax base. The government has granted Federal Board of Revenue sweeping powers to disconnect mobile, electricity and gas connection of non-filers.
असल मसला जो आ रहा है ना वो अब ये आ रहा है कि एक तो डॉलर की डिवैल्यूएशन डे बाय डे हो रही है, साथ साथ जो एक नया पैनिक फैला दिया एफबीआर ने पीओएस सिस्टम लगाने का, पॉइंट ऑफ सेल सिस्टम, उसकी वजह से जो है बिल्कुल अनसर्टनेस हो गई है मार्केट्स के अंदर। तो आप देखेंगे इस वक्त गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसी ये कि इंपोर्ट को रोका जाए, लेकिन इंपोर्ट रोकने की जगह स्मगलिंग का कारोबार बढ़ चुका है इस वक्त, और जितने भी हमारा अब कंट्रीज में माल जाता था इस वक्त कराची से, वो सारा रुक गया है।
Struggling to manage profits due to higher inflation, traders have demanded the government to stop their harassment in the name of tax collection. Goplani said there was dire need for financial assistance and reforms, especially for small traders.
In news from Afghanistan, as winter approaches in Afghanistan, which faces severe drought conditions as well as a near collapse of its economy following the withdrawal of Western support, residents in capital Kabul fear for future. They hope that financial issues would be addressed by the Taliban.
Residents in Afghan capital Kabul said on Thursday they hoped that financial issues would be addressed by the Taliban soon as winter was approaching. A woman selling second-hand clothing said she was worried about being able to prepare heating materials with home rental costs not being reduced by her landlord despite the country teetering on the brink of economic collapse. Another resident spoke about the need for the Taliban to clearly identify themselves with uniforms to establish order and trust, while calling on them to continue creating jobs.
از طالبان میخواهیم که یک نظام صحیح را برای پرتانی تو نیست که هر کس حال یک تفنگ در دست خود گرفته در سر خود دستمال زده که من طالب هستم معلوم نیست که طالب اصلی کی است. نظام صحیح نظام باشه، یک نظام صحیح مردم خود دریشی بپوشانند، معلوم شود که از این قطعه سیاسی قطعه است که مردم برشان باور کنه، برشان اعتبار کنه و مردم کار میآیا کنه، مردم پس در کارایشان بطالبه. حال در فامیل است یک تو سیاست تمام فامیل خرج میداد، حال سیاست در خانش قلف است، پریشان است. باید به مردم مشکلات مردم رسیدگی شود.
Aid agencies delivered food, blankets and cash to hundreds of displaced families in Kabul on Wednesday as humanitarian assistance begins to trickle into Afghanistan following warnings the country faces a potentially catastrophic famine this year. Chilly weather this week underlined the urgency in getting assistance to thousands of displaced people in the capital, many having fled from the provinces and sleeping in tents or improvised accommodation around the city.
Moving on to news from Sri Lanka. In a bid to boost bilateral defence cooperation, Indian Army Chief General M.M. Naravne met Sri Lanka's top civilian and military leadership in capital Colombo and discussed steps to further enhance relations between the two neighbouring countries. The visit comes as Indian and Sri Lankan armies are currently holding a 12-day joint military exercise.
India's Army Chief General M.M. Naravne on Thursday called on Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa aimed at boosting bilateral ties. During the meeting, discussions about enhancing existing defence cooperation between the two countries were held. PM Rajapaksa expressed his appreciation for the assistance provided by the Indian Armed Forces to Sri Lanka throughout the years. Before meeting the Sri Lankan PM, India's Army Chief called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and discussed mutual and strategic cooperation issues. General Naravne arrived in Sri Lanka on Tuesday on a 4-day visit at the invitation of his Sri Lankan counterpart, General Shavendra Silva. The two sides discussed steps to further enhance the excellent defence cooperation between the two neighbouring countries. Naravne's visit comes a week after India's Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla visited Sri Lanka when President Gotabaya Rajapaksa assured that Colombo will not act in a fashion that is detrimental to India's interests. The Indian and Sri Lankan armies are currently holding a 12-day military exercise, Mitra Shakti, that will conclude on October 15.
Serpentine queues were witnessed outside the famous Taleju Bhawani Temple in Nepal on Thursday as it reopened its gates for devotees on the auspicious occasion of Mahanavami after a gap of 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, devotees also thronged temples to offer prayers in neighbouring India to mark the 9th day of Navratri festival.
Long and meandering queues stretched to all possible corners of Basantapur Darbar Square in Nepal's capital Kathmandu on Thursday as the famous Taleju Bhawani Temple reopened its gates for devotees after a gap of 2 years. The temple, situated within the Hanuman Dhoka Darbar area, is opened only on Mahanavami, the 9th day of ongoing Dashain festival. The temple had remained shut last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
राम्रो छ एकदम लाइन पनि सर्या एकदम खुसी लाग्यो 1% कोरोनाले कस्तो भए अलि कम भए जति छ अब भगवानले सबैले रक्षा गरौँ सबैलाई कोरोना हटोस् त्यही नै हो रोग कसैलाई नलाओस्.
Meanwhile, in neighbouring India's northern Katra town, devotees thronged the famous Mata Vaishno Devi shrine to mark the 9th day of the Navratri or 9 nights festival, dedicated to 9 different forms of Hindu goddess Durga. It is believed that during the festival, the goddess descends on earth to rid it of demons and bless her devotees.
तो बहुत बढ़िया लगा क्योंकि हम गए वहाँ पर तो काफ़ी ज़्यादा भीड़ भी थे और भीड़ के बावजूद भी बहुत सारे व्यक्ति आए हुए हैं यहाँ जिनको लगता है कि नहीं हम यहाँ आके कुछ हमारी मनोकामनाएं जो है वो पूर्ण होंगे.
Similar scenes were also witnessed in other parts of India, including capital New Delhi. Devotees made a beeline outside temples since early morning to pay obeisance. The festival of Navratri holds immense importance in Hinduism. It culminates with the Shera festival on the 10th day.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on southasianewsline.com. You can also visit us on facebook.com/AsAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @AsAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.